Yeah, people are joining.
Yeah, wow, wow, 800 and something viewers already.
Yeah, yeah,
This is awesome. This is awesome.
yep,
This is
yeah.
awesome.
Everyone are joining.
This is so awesome. This is so awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
1,000 viewers already.
yeah,
This is so awesome. So can we start?
yeah, yeah. We'll start.
Okay. Okay. Good evening once again. I'm excited to have every one of us here. My name is Joshua Emmanuel Uchenna. I am the founder of P. Josh Diabetes Foundation. The P. Josh Diabetes Foundation is a registered non-governmental organization here in Nigeria, Africa, committed to
Yes,
diabetes advocacy, care, awareness. We host outreaches in communities, in schools, teaching people about diabetes and helping them manage their diabetes, giving aids to those already diabetic. And we are privileged today to have um, a humble doctor, a consultant endocrinologist and diabetologist, the man that I love so much. I've never seen a humble person like him. He's such a very humble person. I'm so grateful to have him. He's
thank you.
he's a consultant endocrinologist and diabetologist all the way in India, and he has done amazing work as an endocrinologist, the first South Indian endocrinologist to attend to pregnant women with insulin and a lot of stuff he has done. A lot of stuff he has done. He's an award-winning endocrinologist across the world. He's a father to many. He's such a humble personality. I have a lot to say about him. I have a lot to say about him. I don't even know where to start from to talk about you, Doc. I really appreciate you for believing in the P. George Diabetes Foundation. Thank you for coming around. Thank you so much, Doctor. I really appreciate. So, our topic today is going to be on diabetes and COVID-19. We've heard a lot about diabetes and COVID-19. A lot has been said about the immune system of the diabetic patient. A lot has been said, and we are privileged today to have a satisfied endocrinologist. He's my chief. He's my boss. Like he knows everything more than me. I don't even know anything when he's around. Like he knows more than me. So we are so privileged to have him. So he's going to be talking to us about diabetes and COVID-19, the impact of the COVID-19, especially on Africans and Indians. So, Doc, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Joshua, for such a beautiful introduction. Hello, good evening, everyone. Special thanks to my friend, dearest friend, all the way from Africa, Joshua Emmanuel, founder, CEO, Pijos Diabetes Foundation, for inviting me on this platform. And thank you, everyone who have joined our platform. I won't take much of your time. Let's dive into the topic, diabetes and COVID-19. So we all know that WHO has already declared COVID-19 outbreak to be the public health emergency of international concern. Over 4 million people around the world are known to be infected right now. There are many coronaviruses ranging from common cold to SARS or MERS. They are the viruses which are believed to be transmitted from animals to people. In severe cases, coronavirus can cause an infection to your lungs, kidney failure, circulatory collapse, or even death. At present, we don't have any vaccine against this COVID-19. Some of the common signs of the typical flu-like symptoms are fever, cough, breathing difficulties, tiredness, muscle ache. Symptoms usually starts within 3 to 7 days, and some cases we are seeing up to 14 days. But people with diabetes do face a higher chance of experiencing serious complications from COVID-19. In general, people with diabetes are more likely to experience more severe symptoms and complications if their glucose is not well controlled, or the risk remains the same as the general population if their diabetes is well controlled. So when the people with diabetes do not manage their diabetes well and experience a fluctuating blood sugars, they are generally at a risk for number of diabetes related complications. So basically their body's ability to fight off an infection is compromised. Any viral infection can increase the inflammation or a tissue edema with the people with diabetes if their sugars are above the target blood. So people with diabetes do have an increased tendency to develop diabetic ketoacidosis or hypoglycemia and many other challenges. In this COVID-19 infection, as it is a double challenge for people with diabetes. Same time, the patient have to control glucose in a situation with a decreased and more variable food intake. So if you are thinking of whether a type 1 diabetes or a type 2 diabetes is more risk, but let me tell you that type 1 diabetes, that is where the immune system attacks the cells in the pancreas that makes insulin. In this case, you will need to take the insulin every day. So your immune system is challenged. Whereas in type 2 diabetes, the body doesn't make enough or appropriately use the insulin, which already present in your body. So as of now, presently, the COVID-19 risk poses to both type 1 and type 2 diabetes remains same until their glucose are well controlled. If you are talking about the scenario in India, we have around 70% of deaths due to COVID-19 are due to the comorbidities. The fatal outcomes is 50% high in diabetes compared to the general. At present, we have more than 77 million people in India with diabetes. So being a diabetologist or when you're working with a diabetic field, in a patient's presenting to you. So if a patient has cold or a flu or the coronavirus, how do you differentiate between these three when clinically you are examining a case? So usually the cold, it appears between 1 to 3 days, whereas the flu takes 1 to 4 days. Coronavirus usually appears between 2 to 14 days. The symptoms which you see more common are very gradual in appearance in cold, whereas in flu, they are abrupt in onset. Coronavirus, the mild cases approximately starts for 2 weeks and then ranges from 3 to 6 weeks if they are how long that the symptom lasts. And comparing to fever, fever is very common in coronavirus, but cold and flu, it is very less common. And the runny nose is very common in cold and flu and very less common in coronavirus. Sore throat is also not much seen in coronavirus. Cough is seen in some of the cases. Body ache is very rare, but breathing difficulty, this is one of the classical symptoms we are seeing in a patients with coronavirus. So if a patient comes with the above risk and we're having a breathing difficulty, then they can think that they are the prone for this coronavirus. So why diabetics are more risk factor, or diabetes acts as a risk factor for the coronavirus? Diabetes is one of the leading cause of morbidity or mortality throughout the world. The condition is associated with several macrovascular and microvascular complications that ultimately impact the overall patient survival. Diabetes is a risk factor even for hospitalization and mortality, even in COVID-19 patients. Diabetes, if you see a survival rate, which was a study conducted in Wuhan, which showed that 22% of 32 non-survivors in the intensive care unit were diabetic. And then there are a number of comorbidities which detect the predictor of the mortality in COVID-19. Suppose a patient with diabetes having hypertension, the risk doubles. Or if he is having a cardiovascular disease, then the risk is more than 16%. Or a patient having a diabetes with a lung disease, then the risk is 6%. So this can be assessed from the previous diseases, like where you have seen MERS or SARS or severe influenzas, H1N1 pandemic in 2009. All these conditions, the diabetes people were more prone for such diseases since their body's immune system is compromised. So there are several hypotheses which explain the increased incidence of in general, people with all forms of diabetes are at an increased risk of developing the COVID-19 or any other viral sort of infections, because they do have a defect in their innate immunity, affecting the phagocytosis, neutrophil chemotaxis, cell-mediated immunity, However, the high frequency of diabetics in serious cases of COVID-19 could potentially reflect the higher prevalence of type 2 diabetes in older people. Furthermore, diabetes in old age is also associated with cardiovascular disease, so which itself explains the association between the fatal outcomes in COVID-19. First of all, the gain entry to its target cell, the SARS-CoV-2 virus hijacks your endocrine pathway that plays a crucial role in the blood pressure regulation, metabolism, and inflammation. And it goes and attaches to ACE2 receptors. These are the coronavirus spike protein receptors, which are normally seen in our body having a protective effect, primarily regarding the inflammation is concerned. So if a COVID-19 infection occurs, then these ACE2 receptors are reduced, which further helps your body for developing more high inflammation, respiratory failure, or a cellular damage. The whole scenario is seen when a patient is having an acute hyperglycemia, which has shown that the acute hyperglycemia itself causes upregulation of ACE2 receptors, which might facilitate the viral entry more. Furthermore, the expression of ACE2 receptors are also seen in the pancreatic beta cells, so which shows the direct effect of beta cell function, that diabetes might not only be the risk factor for severe form of COVID-19, but also the infection from COVID-19 may further lead to development of diabetes, that is new onset diabetes. Potential beta cell damage caused the virus leading to insulin deficiency, supported by many of the colleagues in Italy and also some of the studies from US and Wuhan, where they have seen the patients when during the entry presented with the severe diabetic ketoacidosis, saying that previously the patient was not diabetic but now developed diabetes due to COVID-19 infection. So indicating that the potential beta cell depletions in the pancreatic site due to the COVID-19 infection due to presence of ACE2 receptors indicates that you can develop diabetes even after COVID-19. The second potential mechanism that might explain the link between the COVID-19 and diabetes involves DPP4 enzyme, dipeptidyl peptidase 4 enzyme, which is commonly targeted pharmacologically in people with type 2 diabetes. In several studies, DPP4 was identified as a functional receptor for the previous MERS infection. Antibodies directed against DPP4 inhibited this MERS infection in the primary cells. So it plays a major role in glucose and insulin metabolism, but also increases inflammation in type 2 diabetes. Whether these mechanisms also apply in COVID-19 or whether the diabetes treatment with DPP4 inhibitors will help the patients from preventing the COVID-19 is still not clear, but this may provide a therapeutic opportunity for the treatment of COVID-19. COVID-19 seems to manifest in most forms of those with the diabetes and other comorbidities, because the other comorbidities includes obesity. Already type 2 diabetes people are little obese. So when you're talking about obesity, obesity itself is a chronic inflammatory condition where your body is always running with an inflammatory condition, pro-oxidative stress that have a negative impact on your glycemic profile, thus deteriorating both glycemic hemostasis and peripheral insulin insensitivity. Thus, the chronic hyperglycemia, I mean an HbA1c more than 9%, have been linked to 60% increased risk of hospitalization and pneumonia-related severity during other bacterial infections and chronic inflammatory states. So, although the data regarding diabetes management during COVID-19 are still scarce and the profile of diabetic patient more susceptible to infection are not precisely known, it is, however, notable that in a study conducted in Wuhan in China, where 31% of COVID-19 patients who died had diabetes. This finding is very consistent with another study from Italy or the study from Romania, where the patients died due to COVID-19. The more sufferers were the cardiovascular disease, hypertension, and diabetes. So the diabetes itself causes a dysfunction of immune response, makes more susceptible for infections. So one cause is, as we discussed about the hyperglycemia, maybe the dysfunction of the immune response, making it more susceptible for infection. And there is also, so if a patient, already we know that diabetic patient have their circulatory system damaged. So if they get a wound, there is a delayed wound healing in diabetes. So that indicates they are already suffering from their loss of immunity, which their body is not able to get rid of. It is an inflammation and a high uncontrolled blood sugar. Then an inflammatory response of the body can slow and immune response to new threats. So basically, we can say diabetics have an increased ACE2 expression in the body. They are prone for COVID-19 if their sugars are not controlled. And then increased furin. Furin is a type 1 membrane-bound protein belonging to protein convertase. It is involved for the entry of coronavirus into the cell. So increasingly seen in patients with diabetes, so which might also facilitate the viral entry. And also they're having a long-standing impaired T cell function and also increased interleukin 6, which facilitates for the viral entry. Suppose if you are seeing a patient with diabetes in your clinic presenting with a COVID-19, how the clinical scenario looks to you. The patients with COVID-19 commonly show on admission lymphocytopenia and to a lesser extent thrombocytopenia. Further, elevated levels of pro-inflammatory cytokines, increased interleukin 6, C-reactive protein, and also coagulation activity is disturbed. There is a circulatory collapse where you are having an endothelial injury, a von Willebrand factor 8 are into the circulation, which is causing a prothrombotic state. So these hypercoagulable prothrombotic states are leading to shock and further comorbidities. Viral entry into the host cell is the fundamental component of a cross-species transmission, particularly for virus. Specific receptors. After binding to a target cell, the host cell protease cleaves the spike, which allows the virus to enter and replicate. The ACE2 has been identified as one of the main receptors for both SARS-CoV, previously the SARS infection, or now presently SARS-CoV-2. Many of the Chinese studies have come up showing that who did not receive a steroid treatment when admission had developed diabetes after getting COVID-19. So that was one of the study which was conducted in China, where they demonstrated around 39 patients who were admitted in the ICU care unit for COVID-19. On the way of their discharge, they were diagnosed diabetes. So that indicates that we are having the ACE2 receptor present in our pancreas, which are depleted during the COVID-19. So the tendency of developing diabetes is also high post-COVID. So although diabetes has been associated with worse outcomes in COVID-19 patients, the susceptibility of SARS-CoV-2 infection may not be higher in diabetics if their sugars are well controlled. So the main takeaway from that has in treatment. Several clinical trials are in progress to assess the safety and efficacy of the treatment. Alternatives including remdesivir, tocilizumab, lopinavir, ritonavir, and ribavirin, interferon, chloroquine, phosphate, or its analog hydroxychloroquine, they are still in a clinical progress. One of the promising pharmacological options available right now is chloroquine and its hydroxy analog hydroxychloroquine, and another showing the good results in clinical 3-phase trial, remdesivir. Widely, we know that chloroquine, we in India and Africa, we have used a lot of chloroquine for the malaria and other autoimmune diseases. The chloroquine has been reported as a potential broad-spectrum antiviral drug. Although the efficacy and safety of chloroquine for COVID-19 treatment remains unclear, some of the recent studies have shown that drug was highly effective in controlling SARS-CoV-2 infection in vitro. Whereas there are no studies to prove the theory still, but we are all using it as a prophylactic measures. On other hand, several studies have reported that hydroxychloroquine improves the glycemic control in decompensated treatment refractory patients with diabetes. So it in India, it has been approved for an add-on therapy for the patients who do not achieve a good glycemic target with 2 or more other lowering drugs. Although the inflammation is associated with impaired glucose control, underlying mechanism for hydroxychloroquine's hypoglycemic effect remains unclear. It has been described that it could be due to C-peptide response, potentially reflecting an improved pancreatic beta cell function. Reduced intracellular insulin degradation and increased insulin accumulation have been identified as a possible effect for hydroxychloroquine in animal models. So given the previously reported impact of chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine on glucose metabolism, so cautious should be taken when you are giving a patient with diabetes the hydroxychloroquine drug, because it has the potential effect of getting hypoglycemia. So you need to alter the other oral anti-diabetic drugs, or the insulin needs to be lowered. So basically they need a proper control. So no data is available regarding the appropriate management of patients with diabetes infected in SARS-CoV-2. The main thing remains is rigorous glucose monitoring and considering approach where you are including endocrinologist. Those with diabetic nephropathy has the diabetes related heart complications, since these are also the higher risk of developing the disease. So speaking about some of the anti-diabetic drugs, metformin, this is widely used drug for the diabetes. It has an anti-proliferative immunomodulatory effect by virtue of inhibition of AMP activation, shown to be very protective when given with the patients with pneumonia. Or the viral pneumonia. Previously, some studies have shown that patients given metformin or developing a TB or other viral pneumonia, the mortality risk was reduced. So if you are having your patients on metformin, provided if there is no chance of getting a dehydration or lactic acidosis, or the patient is not sick, then continue metformin drug. And talking about thiazolidines are seen to increase the risk of pneumonia. In some of the studies which compared with sulfonylureas, experimental studies suggest that pioglitazones reduce the steatohepatitis by increasing ACE2 expression. The increased ACE2 expression can be related to COVID-19 in some of the researchers proposing that thiazolidines in patients with diabetes and COVID-19 can be avoided until the further reports available. Talking about GLP-1 receptors, like ACE2 expression in lung or type 1 diabetes, they are shown to be clinically improving better profile and also reducing the pneumonia chances in patients with type 2 diabetes. So the role of DPP-4 or the other drugs. So if metformin, if you put a patient on metformin, then there is a risk of dehydration, lactic acidosis will probably occur if patients are dehydrated. So patients should stop taking drug, follow sick day rules and during the illness. And SGLT2 receptors like canagliflozin, dapagliflozin or empagliflozin, these increases the risk of diabetic ketoacidosis. So better to avoid at such situation. And GLP-1 analogs you can continue, and DPP-4 you can continue, whereas talking about the insulin remains the best therapy in such infective stages. Some of the studies where you can see about the DPP-4, which serves as a receptor for even MARS-CoV, in the same way as ACE2 is the receptor for SARS-CoV and SARS-CoV-2. Experimental studies have suggested that DPP-4 are better in patients with experiencing the absence of MAS. Moreover, some of the studies from Africa you can see where there was existence of MERS virus in Africa in camels, but the peoples were not susceptible because that increased polymorphism of DPP-4 in Africans. So what would be the takeaway from management for diabetes and COVID-19 is good glycemic control should be done. They should be advised of taking the insulin. That should be monitored properly, proper monitoring of the insulins. And if the patients are already on ACE inhibitors or ARBs, since many of our diabetic patients are also having hypertension and heart diseases, they are put on ACE inhibitors and ARBs. So ACE inhibitors and ARBs usually block this ACE2 receptors. So there is a concern that people with diabetes who are already at the elevated risk of infection because of many other factors. However, there is no evidence to support this hypothesis because ACE2 receptors theoretically can increase the risk of SARS-CoV-2, but there is no hypothesis supporting this theory. So, but if a patient is on ACE inhibitors and ARBs and also on DPP4, better to take the ACE inhibitors or DPP4 out of that. So, because there is a risk of hypercirculatory collapse. And talking about statins and calcium channel blockers, these are protective ways where the patient can continue these drugs. And in such a challenging time of pandemic, it is the treatment of diabetes poses a challenge in the current times. When the world is going through an unprecedented pandemic, there are lockdowns in most of the places with people confined at home. Opportunities for exercises are limited and regular walks and visits to the gyms or swimming pools are not possible. There is also considerable mental stress because of the unpredictability of the disease as well as the immobility. Alterations in the daily routine affect the dietary intake of the patients. Stress could lead to inappropriate eating, access to fresh fruits, vegetables could be limited, and there may be a tendency to eat a packaged foods. These packaged foods have high in calories, saturated fat, and trans fat. So patient may find it difficult to procure a medicine, so insulin, needles, glucose strips, etc. because of partial or a complete lockdown. The problems become more pronounced when a patient with diabetes, elderly, staying alone in home with all the comorbidities. So they have the more chance of developing the hyperosmolar coma, ketoacidosis, or even the cardiac events. The patients with diabetes need to maintain their regular diet. Care should be taken to vary the calorie intake markedly. Healthy balanced diet with good amount of protein, fiber, or limitation of saturation fats is important. Exercise should be continued. Home-based exercise can be followed, like cycling, treadmill, stationary jogging, or resistant exercises with small weights are beneficial. Regular intake of anti-diabetic drugs and insulin is very important, and regular monitoring is important. They can take a telemedicine, which can be very helpful in these times. Patient can consult their physicians via telemedicine, which is an appropriate advice from the treatment can be given. And they should be very peculiar about the feet because diabetics are more prone for the diabetic foot wounds and diabetic feet diseases. So the care should be given for the to avoid the foot related complications. There are telemedicine temperature mats available in some of the places where we use to screen the patients by using the mats, and then if the mat shows and the degree of inflammation, then we are calling the patients to clinic. Or else during this lockdown, they can avoid visiting to the clinics. Patients need to be educated about the need to visit hospital urgently in emergency situations like vomiting, drowsiness, shortness of breath, chest pain, weakness of limbs, or altered sensorium. And also patients should be educated to take the vitamin supplements like which builds their immunity, mainly vitamin D, zinc, vitamin C, and sleep for 8 to 10 hours. And more take of more vegetables, fresh fruits, or you can even use your home gardening techniques to get the good fruits, and try to avoid tea, coffee, and limit the salt, bad fats, and fluids. You can continue to take a lot of amount of fluids. And then mainly the stress management should be very peculiar in patients with diabetes, as these people may develop the hyperglycemia due to stress. And they need to develop some hobbies, go out, work out or watch, and adequate sleep should be very important with the diabetics. And what I mean by a well-controlled diabetes is that is a person measuring his blood sugar 4 times a day, that is pre-day, pre-meal, and bedtime at least, and checking HbA1c quarterly, and having an average below 8%, or a fasting blood sugar below 140 is fine, or a postprandial below 180 can be fine, or they can go for a time in range where you are having a CGM machines where the continuous glucose monitoring take place, so they can use such things. So and they should be given mainly, not only the diabetics, everyone when they are going out should use a triple layer surgical mask and avoid direct contact with the surfaces or isolation, maintain the social distancing at least 1 meter, and try avoiding to going to hospitals at present situation if you are able to consult to telemedicines. And this could help them to prevent the further spread of the infections. And mainly, so whatever the take home message for this is, there is high prevalence of diabetes is seen in patients with SARS-CoV-2, that is COVID-19, and presence of diabetes is a determinant of severity and mortality. Diabetes might facilitate infection by COVID-19 due to increased viral entry into the cell or impaired immune response, because the blood glucose is not uncontrolled. If the blood glucose remains high, then the patient developing diabetes developing COVID-19 will be high. So the patients can use telemedicine, which will be very helpful, as they are having a chronic inflammation, hypercoagulation, impaired immunity, which increases the mortality and morbidity. So, but the evidence does not support discontinuation of ACE inhibitors or ARBs or thiazolidines. But if you are putting them on DPP4 and ACE inhibitors, my advice would be to go at least one and take out the other. And hypoglycemia events may occur if the patient is put on hydroxychloroquine, so that care should be taken. Rigorous glucose monitoring and patient-tailored therapy would be helpful. So, Joshua, thank you for creating this platform. That was, and thank you for the everyone who listened to this patiently and joining us. So
Wow.
we can open for questions and answers.
Yeah. Hello, viewers. This time for questions. We don't have much time, so this time for questions. So drop your questions. We're going to be addressing the questions, and please don't forget to follow our page, PJosh Diabetes Foundation. As you are viewing, don't forget to follow the page, PJosh Diabetes Foundation. Share this video to your friends, your colleagues. Let them watch the video and learn. I've really learned a lot from you, Dr. Venn. I learned about the need for self-monitoring of blood glucose level as a diabetic patient. That is very much important. I also learned about the need for taking of vitamin C and vitamin K. That is very much important. I also learned about the need for us to exercise ourselves. You said something about exercise, that the COVID-19 pandemic, because of the lockdown, people can't really go outside to exercise. They can't really go to the gym. They can't really go to the swimming pools to exercise. But I want to drop in something here. Exercise includes walking. Exercise includes running. You can do that in your house. Inside your house, you can run around just for 30 minutes. Make sure you are active. That's the most important thing. I also said something about stress. Stress triggered hyperglycemia. That is very much important. It's very much important that we have enough rest. As diabetic patients, have enough rest, have enough sleep, and stay hydrated. So please drop your questions, all your questions. We're going to be addressing them in the next 10 minutes. We'll be addressing the questions. Dr. Venn is here to address the questions. And
yeah.
I'm so excited to have Dr. Venn here. We are having more than 2,000 viewers right now are watching us across more than 2,000 persons are watching us.
That was a very good support from everyone.
Wow, yes, I'm so excited. 2,000 persons. This is so amazing. This is so amazing. I've never seen this. Wow, 2,100 persons right now watching us across the world. It's so amazing. Dr. Venn, I must really appreciate you for believing in us, for believing in the PJosh Diabetes Foundation. Please drop your questions. Let's address the questions. Diabetes and COVID-19. Somebody was saying something. I want to view something, like somebody dropped a question. Hello, doctor. Does COVID-19 causes diabetic ketoacidosis or HSS? So, Dr. Ven, you have a question here. Does
Yeah,
COVID-19?
yeah. Because see, some of the reports from China or the US, what we are seeing, they're like these ACE2 receptors. This COVID-19, the coronavirus attacks the ACE2 receptors. These ACE2 receptors are also found in pancreas. So there is a chance of depletion of beta cells of pancreas. So the risk of developing diabetes or hyper osmolar state or decay is very, very much as the reports are suggesting. So further studies needs to be done on this, but right now, yes, they can develop diabetes.
Okay, okay. So I hope the question have been answered. Alisa. So I hope the question have been answered. So please keep on dropping your questions. We are going to be addressing your questions. This is time for questions. Drop your questions.
Yeah.
So someone said, thank you, doctor, sending love from Nigeria. So we're having Nigerians viewing too. So someone is sending in love from Nigeria. Fatima
Thank you,
Jibrin.
thank you, thank you.
Fatima, appreciate you. Thank you for viewing. Thank you for watching. And we hope that you learned. Because this is very interesting topic, diabetes and COVID-19. And Doc, I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question to ask.
Yeah.
I have a question. As a diabetes
Yeah.
educator, I've heard a lot about people saying something about diabetic patients and their immune system.
Yeah.
Like, what is the impact of the immune system? What's the correlation? What is the relationship between the immune system and COVID-19 when it comes to a diabetic patient?
See, diabetic patients are already having a chronic inflammation running in their body. There is a pro-oxidative state. And some of the theories suggest that the ACE2 receptors are more in diabetics. And also the furin which facilitate this COVID-19 virus entry into your body is also more expressed in diabetics. And there is also the impaired T cell immunity or the innate immunity. Suppose if we see a lot of cases where a patient usually develops an wound or an infection, he suffers it for a long time compared to a general public. When a patient with diabetes suffers from the wound, that increase their body is already compromised for the immunity. So this ACE2 receptors expression increased, interleukin 6 increase, and also the furin increase may facilitate the patients with diabetes to get the COVID-19. And the main thing to remember is hyperglycemia. Hyperglycemia causes increased ACE2 receptors in the body. Many theories have been suggested so far.
Okay.
So these are things which which may facilitate the coronavirus risk for a patient. And yes, if the patient is maintaining his blood glucose very normal and he is having a good control of diabetes, then the risk of getting COVID-19 is same as a general public.
Good. I've heard a lot about people like put fear in people living with diabetes, like, those living with diabetes are more susceptible to having COVID-19. But as a diabetes educator and as an international diabetes advocate, we must try to put hope to people. We must try to give them hope. That you are diabetic, that someone is diabetic does not mean that the person must get COVID-19. As you said,
Yes.
if there is good glycemic control, you are keeping social distancing, washing your hands or sanitizing your hands, eating healthy.
Yes.
So the risk is just the same with everybody, with every other person.
Yeah.
So that you are diabetic does not mean that you must get COVID-19. I don't know if I'm correct in that. That someone that you are diabetic,
right.
that you are diabetic does not mean that you must get COVID-19. No, as an international diabetes advocate, we must learn to give hope to people, because a lot of patients are living with fear. I spoke on radio the last time, and I said this on radio. A lot of diabetes patients are living with fear. A lot of them cannot even. They're just stressed up. They are depressed because of the news on social media. So we must learn that you are diabetic does not mean that you must get COVID-19. Just make sure that you are following social distancing, having a good glycemic control, taking your drugs for insulin, eating healthy, washing your hands or sanitizing your hands. With that, I think you can actually curb the risk of getting COVID-19. Doc, I don't know if I'm correct with that.
Yeah, you are right. You are right. So the risk is same to everyone until the diabetics is well controlled.
Okay, wow. So please keep on dropping your questions. We have few more minutes to call it a day. We have few more minutes to call it a day. Few more minutes to call it a day. I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited. I'm so excited
Yeah.
about this.
Joshua, like I have an inquiry for you. So, like how you are managing this diabetic education during this pandemic? How you are maintaining this education during this pandemic?
Well, I'm living in Nigeria, and Nigeria is a third world country. I like, for example, right now I'm buying the data to I buy the data to be online, and that is money. Like
Uh,
it's about $3 to buy this, like subscribe, and it's more so much. And so, for example, the foundation, we go out to reach out to people in communities, educate them, give them free blood sugar tests, free blood pressure, and body weight. But because of the pandemic, we've not been able to do that. But we're gonna resume. So as that educators, so I'm coping with the pandemic, and as a DAPS educator is through this live video I'm doing. I've been hosting live videos. Last week I invited a professor, Dr. Richard, Professor Richard. He has did the
yeah.
diabetes for more than 78 years. So he has been
Mm,
diabetic.
mm,
Um,
okay.
um,
Mm,
so we've been hosting people. I've been hosting people. I've been hosting people all over the world. Let people, and these are
oh,
free. These are free screenings. They are free diabetes screenings, free diabetes education. Sorry, free diabetes education.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not actually easy for the foundation, but we've been trying.
Yeah.
We're making progress. For example, right now we are taking steps on getting an office space for the foundation here in Nigeria. We've already gotten an office space for the foundation, and I want to also use this opportunity um, to ask for support for people to support the foundation. We have a website. Our website is www.pjoshdiabetesfoundation.org. You can go there and make your donations. $1, $2, all these things usually help us out to reach out to Nigerians, and not just to Nigerians, to
Yeah.
Africans. Our vision as the
Yeah.
foundation is to reach out to the
Yeah.
entire African continent. We have about 56 countries in Africa, or more than 56 countries in Africa. So we have the vision of reaching out to all these countries in Africa and even beyond. And I'm so grateful that someone like Dr. Vin believes in P. Josh Diabetes Foundation. I'm so excited that we got
No, no, you people are doing an excellent job. Like that is the very great service you are giving to everyone in the surrounding of Africa. So I'm
Doc.
really very impressed by you, Joshua.
Thank you, Doc. I thank you very much. Thank you for believing in us. Thank you for finding
Yeah.
it necessary to go on live
Yeah.
with a young boy like me. I really
Yeah. Okay.
I really appreciate. So we have few more minutes to end this, or I don't know. So if you can take more questions, please drop your questions. Drop your questions, and okay. So someone from Malaysia is thanking you. Thank you for answering my
Thank you.
question, Doctor. Lots of love from Malaysia. So we've got viewers all over the world.
Thank
We've got viewers from Nigeria,
Yeah.
from
Thank you.
Malaysia, from India,
Yeah.
from US. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Then Fatima is saying, "Oh yeah, I learned so much from you, Dr. Vinek. I know what I have to do much research." So it's so exciting that
Yeah.
people are dropping that they learned a lot. I mean, I learned a lot. So I learned
Yeah.
so much. I learned so much. I was so
Yeah.
quiet to listen. When your chief is talking,
Thank you. Thank
when
you.
your chief is talking, you keep quiet and listen. So I have to keep quiet to listen from a consultant.
Thank you. Thank you.
So please drop your question before we call it a day. Maybe even if you can't ask questions now, maybe later you can still ask your questions. And please don't forget to follow our page. Follow this page, P. Josh Diabetes Foundation. Visit our website, www.pjoshdiabetesfoundation.org. Make your contributions, make your donations if you have any. And help me and thank Dr. Vin. Dr. Vin, he's so much blessing to me. I'm really humbled. I've never seen this kind of love since I started the P. Josh Diabetes Foundation. We have more than 2,000 persons right now are viewed all over the world. This is so amazing. Like I feel like crying right now.
Thank you, thank you. I'm really very much grateful to be a part of Pejos Diabetes Foundation, Joshua.
Wow,
That's
wow.
a great opportunity I got.
Uh,
Definitely, we'll do keep better for the humanity all over the globe.
yeah.
We'll help the people with diabetes. Sure.
Wow. Okay, okay. I think there's no more questions. I think we can we call it
Yeah.
a day? Maybe
End it.
can we call it a day
Yeah. Yeah.
for now? Yeah. So please
Yeah.
don't forget to follow this page, P. Josh Diabetes Foundation. On Facebook, follow us on Facebook, P. Josh Diabetes Foundation. Then on Twitter, PDF Africa, PDF, then hyphen Africa. Follow us on our social media pages and visit our website too. We love you and stay safe. Make sure if you are diabetic that you are managing your diabetes properly by eating healthy, exercising, quitting smoking and alcohol. And then for the COVID-19, stay safe. Wash your hands, sanitize your hands, keep a social distance. And don't forget, everything gonna be fine soon. Everything gonna be fine soon.
Yes.
So
True.
let's call it a day. Thank you very
Okay.
much, Doc. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. I really
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Bye bye.